More FPL. Today I want to go over what should be my final draft, or very close to it. I'll be explaining the overall structure, the reasons behind particular players I've picked, and changes since the last draft. I won't go into too much detail for players that haven't changed, so if you'd like to hear more about these, then see my previous draft video. I'll post my final draft on Twitter before the Game Week 1 deadline, so follow me at more_FPL to see that. Also, if you'd like to join my mini-league, click the link in the description. I'll be doing a brief update as part of my weekly videos, and a full video on the winning team, post-season. So let's start with my goalkeepers. My first choice is still Robert Sanchez of Brighton, just as it has been since my initial draft. Brighton have a kind opening run of fixtures, and their expected data from last season was better than their actual data. Previously, my second choice was Ben Foster of Watford, but it's now Jason Steele, also of Brighton. I made this change since the injury to Kajal Sherpa, which makes Steele number 2. This means I can have both for 8.5 million in case of an injury to Sanchez, whereas previously that would have cost me 9 million, which I wasn't prepared to spend. As we'll see shortly, I also no longer have a Brighton defender, so I'm not worried about running out of slots. I have previously considered the Watford double-up, also costing 8.5 million, but I prefer the known quantity of Brighton. Watford have conceded quite a few goals to Premier League opposition this pre-season. Now let's turn to my defence. My first pick is Trent Alexander-Arnold of Liverpool, who hasn't changed since my initial draft. Liverpool have great fixtures to start, and he should get more clean sheets this season, with Virgil van Dijk's return. Robertson's injury shouldn't affect them too much defensively, and he should be on even more set pieces. My next pick is Luke Shaw of Man United, who also hasn't changed since my initial draft. Along with Liverpool, Man United had the best fixtures to start of the premium teams. Despite a late finish at the Euros, he played the last pre-season game, so I'm confident he'll start the season, particularly with Alex Telles out injured. My next pick is Konstantinos Tsimikas of Liverpool, who is new to this draft. For me, it was a straight choice between him and Diogo Jota for my third Liverpool spot. With Roberto Firmino playing a part in pre-season and looking sharp, I'm a bit worried about Jota's minutes from the start. I think Tsimikas should be good for at least the first few fixtures, and after that, I can easily bench him at 4 million. Next up is Ben White of Arsenal, who is also new to this draft. I feel like I need a couple of 4.5 million defenders on my bench to come in once Tsimikas drops out. Arsenal have a couple of tricky fixtures in game weeks 2 and 3, but have a good run after that. Their defence performed well in the second half of last season, and that should continue. The final slot in my defence goes to Luke Ayling of Leeds, who is also new to this draft. He has a couple of tricky fixtures to start, but plays Burnley in game week 3, and the fixtures are good from game week 5. Leeds became less cavalier in their approach in the second half of last season and improved defensively. Ayling also had some decent underlying attacking stats and was unlucky not to get more returns. Now let's turn to my midfield. The first two players still haven't left my draft at all since the game launched and don't need too much discussion. The first is Mo Salah of Liverpool, who was second top scoring midfielder last season. As mentioned previously, the fixtures are great and he's my planned captain for game weeks 1, 2, 5 and 6. The other is Bruno Fernandes of Man United, who was top scoring player last season. Again, the fixtures are great and he's my planned captain for game weeks 3 and 4. I've tried some drafts without Bruno, but never really came up with anything as good as just having him. Plus, if I need to fund Kane or Lukaku later, he's an easy single downgrade. Next up is Mason Greenwood of Man United, who is new to this draft. I've wanted the triple up for a while, and Edinson Cavani isn't ready to start, making Greenwood the obvious choice. He had a really strong second half of the season, scoring 6 goals in the last 9 games of the season. He pulled out of the Euros through injury, but has already featured heavily in pre-season. United has signed Jadon Sancho, but Marcus Rashford is set to miss the first few months of the season to undergo surgery, and Anthony Martial has only just returned from injury, so Greenwood should be set to start. Next up is Rafinha of Leeds, who is new to this draft. He's a player who's been on the cusp of most of my drafts, but never quite made it in until now. With Emiliano Buendia out injured and the uncertainty surrounding Villa's lineup and the ability to gel quickly, he was the obvious replacement. Leeds don't have great fixtures to start, but showed they could score against anyone last season, and Rafinha was heavily involved in all their attacking play and was unlucky not to get more attacking returns. I still think FPL underpriced him really at 6.5 million. The last midfielder in my squad is purely a bench option, and I've gone with Billy Gilmour of Norwich over Josh Brownhill of Burnley. I think Gilmour is slightly more nailed, and he's taken some set pieces in pre-season. Now let's turn to my attack. My first pick is Danny Ings of Aston Villa, who is new to this draft. Injuries and transfers have slightly depleted the mid-price striker options, meaning I lost Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Everton and Ings' teammate Ollie Watkins from my last draft. I may not have gone Watkins anyway, with Ings' arrival meaning he may be shunted out wide if Villa play with one up front. He had a very good conversion rate at Southampton and should get more chances at Villa in spite of Grealish's departure. I really want to take advantage of those first three fixtures in particular, but Ings is a strong enough option to hold long term and has a decent record against the top teams. Next up is Antonio of West Ham, who is also new to this draft. I'm a bit wary about having Ings and Antonio, as they're both fairly injury prone, but next on my list is Callum Wilson of Newcastle, who also falls into this category. When fit, Antonio is one of the biggest attacking threats in the league, behind maybe Kane and Vardy, who cost a lot more. West Ham have decent fixtures, and like Ings, Antonio has proved himself capable of scoring against anyone. My last striker spot goes to Ivan Toney of Brentford, who hasn't changed from my last draft. He got 33 goals and 10 assists in the Championship last season, so he was top for goal involvement overall. He's Brentford's talisman, and the Bees are expected to continue in an attacking style in the Premier League. They also have a good first 5 fixtures before their schedule tightens up a bit, at which point I could switch to Pookie or downgrade to a 4.5 million striker and go 3-5-2. Now let's talk about my overall strategy and captaincy plans. I'm playing a 3-4-3 formation with the remaining defender with the best fixture as first bench. Steele would only come in if Sanchez got injured. My captain will be Salah for the first couple, Bruno for a couple after that, and then back to Salah. I'm pretty well set up for the early part of the season, where barring injuries, I can use my transfers to jump on early bandwagons. I do tend to wildcard quite early, and will probably do so again around the first or second international break after game week 3 or 7. Around game week 7 is when the fixtures start to turn for Man City and Chelsea, so this could be a useful time to wildcard if I want to make wholesale changes. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Please add your own thoughts and follow-up questions in the comments, and I'll try to get through as many as I can. If you made it to the very end, please destroy the like and subscribe buttons and notification bell to get more FPL.